Welcome to Dominate Your Day, the podcast for corporate leaders, visionaries, and founders who are ready to lead from within. I'm Dana Williams, and after 25 years as a corporate leader myself, I've discovered a powerful truth. The next level of your leadership isn't about more doing, it's about more being. Today, you'll hear from a difference maker who's learned that everything they needed to transform their team and their organization was already within them. They've stopped chasing external validation and started leading from their authentic strengths, purposes, and values. This is what I call the internal revolution. And it's the foundation of my book, Internal Revolution: Lead Authentically and Build Your Personal Brand from Within. It's now available on Amazon. Let's dive in. I'd like to welcome Linda to Dominate Your Day. Linda, welcome. We're so glad to have you here today.
Thanks, Dana. I appreciate you having me on. Looking forward to our conversation.
Yeah, so Linda, you're a financial educator. What does that mean, and how did you get into this space of talking to people about money? Yeah.
Yeah, so financial educator means that I teach people about money. And how is that different from being a financial advisor? Well, I'm no longer, because I was a financial advisor and planner, and I'm no longer helping people in that way, advising them with their investments, but I'm teaching people how to manage their money and how to do their own financial plans. So I'm teaching rather than advising. That's the difference. And gosh, my story about how I got into financial services is kind of a
Hmm.
long one. I'll try to make it short, but
Yeah,
the
go for
the
it.
main thing was is I was in a career pivot midlife, and I was looking for a career in nonprofits because I wanted to help people and I wanted to have a big impact. And so I was, in a job search and going through these ridiculously long interview processes with board members and CEOs and all this stuff. And in the meantime, I signed up for a course called the Chartered Advisor in Philanthropy through the American College of Financial Services. Now, that's like a mouthful of a thing, but
Hmm.
that is what flipped me into financial services because once I put that I was in that course or getting that credential on my LinkedIn profile, I started getting calls from all kinds of recruiters from financial services companies saying like, "Hey, do you want to come work in financial services?" And so I just started having conversations because I love having conversations and getting to know people and networking. And I was like, right now I'm looking for my next opportunity. There's no harm in having conversations. So I had all these different conversations, and finally I was like, this actually makes sense. I can help people by being a financial advisor. Like, I can help people with their money. Why wouldn't I do this? This is going to be a great impact. So I started my career in financial services and had a successful career, grew a successful career over about 6 years. And at that point, I had an unexpected pivot where I left something that wasn't serving me and was like, okay, what do I do now? And the more I was looking at reopen, I had owned my own company in financial services before, and I was looking at doing that again. It was like nothing just seemed like it was the right fit. So
Hmm.
as I started to think about it, and I was like, what is wrong? Why am I not finding the right fit? And I think the biggest thing was that I felt like I wanted to help people who were once like me. Like when I was, in my late 40s and got divorced, and I didn't have anything to take to a financial planner. I didn't feel like I deserved one. I didn't feel like there was anything that they could really do for me. I mean, I did go to one, but did they really do a lot for me? No, because I didn't have the assets or the stuff they were going to make money off of. So I was like, how am I going to help the people who I once was, right? And so
Hmm.
this is my answer. My answer is educating and speaking, and this way I can actually have that bigger impact, the impact that I was looking for before, even though I'm not a not for profit, right? I
Sure.
still need to make a living, but I really want to help people, especially women, get ahead in their finances and find make a safe place for them to show up authentically in all their messiness, like personal and financial, and feel like they have a voice that is a friend that's helping them along.
So, one of the things that I heard you say, and I think, and I was looking at your strengths, you've got achiever, which achiever is kind of like catalyst for action. Let's just go and make things happen. You've also got that arranger, which is looking at ways to be resourceful. And then woo, which is winning others over, which is great, your connection point, your relationship talent. And then focus, which is we've got to be purposeful. What can we do that's driven and that's concentrated and focused? But then your strategic's looking at the big picture and picking the patterns. So how did you find this pattern for education, financial education? What was it that was when you felt this over here wasn't right? You kind of had done that for 6 years. You needed to close down that chapter and you felt like education was something. How did that happen?
So it happened because I need to back up a little bit. So during one part of my financial services career, I had my own financial company, financial planning company, and I also had a money mindset course. So I had
Ah,
started the money mindset course because in working with clients through financial planning, I became so intrigued with the psychology behind it and the
mm-hmm.
mindset behind it because the internal blocks that people have that are either stories that other people told them or stories they're telling themselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
Were really just very interesting to say the least. It's like you're telling someone what they should do, but they're not doing it. And for what reason? For the reason that they have an internal block. Really, that's the only reason. And so I started thinking about that more. And then I thought about like my own journey with finances as I, you know, grew up and aged and evolved into finally being a financial advisor. It's like, wow, I had so much to learn just about my mindset around money alone as far as like knowing my worth. And so all those things are just so intriguing to me, which is why I started the money mindset course. And that's how I decided, you know what, I'm going to build these courses for people to do their own learn about finances and do their own financial plans and own their own financial, journey. But I'm going to weave in all the real life stuff, all the things that, go along with it. Because we're told all the time, like, this is what you should be doing. This is how you should be doing it. But the reality is like, you know what? Real life doesn't work that way.
Mm-hmm.
I can try all I want, but life is just going to keep hitting me in the face. And
Right.
and so I want to have that safe space where people are like, okay, this hit me in the face, and what do I do now? And just really a place for people to show up and you know and talk about money safely.
So you were a teen, it says you were a teen mom. So you had to go back to college and build all this after you raised your child. Is that right? And then figure it all out. I mean, you didn't like life wasn't probably easy for you when you were younger.
Yeah. So I did. I had her at 16, had my daughter at 16, and then I got
Wow.
married at 22, and then I was married for 23 years. So then I was married over half my life. So there was a portion of time where I was a single teen mom, and then there was another
Mhm.
portion of my life where I had just been married for over half my life. At this point I had three kids, two still at home. The daughter had grown up and moved out, but two still at home. And I had been married for over half my life, and I was like, what do I do now? How do I rebuild this?
Mhm.
And and that's actually, after that is where my real journey began, because
Mhm.
I got this job that I thought was going to be my dream job, and it was horrible. It was toxic, and
Yeah.
I wasn't making enough money to even survive, and I didn't feel like I really had that glamorous of a lifestyle. I was just trying to keep my kids in the same school they wanted to be in, and take care of things.
Mm.
So I took some big leaps, and I did. I quit my job and I went back to school in my late 40s. So I didn't get my bachelor's
Good
degree
for
until
you.
then. I actually never
Wow.
thought that getting a degree was going to be an option for me. Like, I was just never in the cards. Like, that was never going to happen.
Wow.
But I made it happen. And then I actually
Good
went and
for
got my
you.
master's degree in financial services after I started the new career path. So yeah, did a lot
It
of
was,
rebuilding.
what I hear from your story is I hear a lot of your achiever, but I also hear a lot of never giving up. Well, this was something you never thought you could do and you did it, and then all of a sudden, wow, and I could go back and get my master's now too. It's like you opened up that file, you created that file of I can do this now, let me go get more education. And I see here in your bio that you love to grow. I mean, you love to learn and constantly leveling up. What do you think that is in your internal strengths that keeps you just keep wanting to learn? What
I
do you
think
think that
that's the
is?
achiever. It's partially the
Mm-hmm.
achiever, right? That where I'm just like, I just want to keep doing things. But
Mm-hmm.
at this point, it's not being an achiever to the sense that I need to keep adding letters after my name. Like I do have letters after my
Right.
name, but I don't need to, I don't feel like I need to keep doing that. My achievements now are like mindset and internal achievements. Like, how can I be a better
Mm-hmm.
person? How can I help others better? And just really change my thinking and better my life. Those are my achievements. I mean, I'm still working towards other stuff too, but really that's my
Mm-hmm.
focus now.
So I hear you talking about a lot in your story about the real life that you can tell people to do stuff, but they've got real life going on, and you had real life going on with all kinds of challenges that you overcame. What was it that was the catalyst when you started thinking about confidence and thinking about mindset and thinking about women? What was it that drove you to pull all that together? Was it something you wish you had for yourself? Was it something that somebody helped you with? How did you figure this out? Because I think there is this mindset always, right? Either a fixed or a growth mindset, or scarcity or abundance. So where did you transfer your thinking on this mind and this mindset work, and how did that happen?
Yeah, so I think that the main thing is that I went to the triggering event was I went to a mastermind of one of John Maxwell's books, and I I had never been in that sort of an environment before, right? And
Right.
in that room with other people talking about these laws of leadership, right? I realized that was the light bulb moment where I was like,
There you go.
I need to start working on me internally, understanding myself better, but I also need to work at understanding people better, like other people. Like, why are people doing the things that they do the way they do? It's about personality, but it's also about
Mhm.
like their mindset and their own growth journey and things like that. It just really flipped a switch for me in thinking differently. And then I started just reading books, right? I started reading, like, you can see some of them in the background here.
Yeah, I
Some of
do.
my favorites were classics, like
Hmm.
Think and Grow Rich and The Tipping Point,
Hmm.
and just classic books that are timeless that I don't feel like will
Hmm.
ever go out of style because they still have that
Hmm.
powerful message. And so, being someone who grew up without mentors, books became my mentors, and they really were what helped
Hmm.
shape me and what helped me learn about mindset and looking inside and understanding yourself. And I hate to keep using the word mindset because there's so much more to it than that. But until you've
Hmm.
really embarked on a personal growth journey, I don't think you really understand like what introspection you get by really looking inside your own head.
Well, and that's what we talk a lot about here is the internal revolution. And it's when you go through something and you have one of those light bulb, you have a downturn or something happens, and then you have a light bulb moment, and then things start changing for you. So I love the fact that you the book. So what was your favorite book that really kind of, was it Think and Grow Rich? Was it, which was the one that kind of you went, wow, this is, you just kind of dog eared it and constantly like were in it, and just, it was like a mainstay for you?
I think and Grow Rich is because I
Yeah.
feel like I've read it a couple of times and I feel like I could keep reading it and get something different or even just get the motivation from it
Mhm.
over and over again. And then one other book, not necessarily the whole book, but the key concept in Stephen Covey's for the four quadrants rule, which is in his 7 habits of whatever it is, highly
Mhm.
effective something. But that concept is huge, and I refer to that a lot when I was working with financial planning clients because financial planning is one of those things that's important and urgent, right? So, or
Mhm.
important and not urgent. Like you keep pushing it
Right.
off, and you don't want it to get urgent. So I use
Right.
that four quadrants analogy a lot in planning and in talking about money, right? Because if you're familiar, are you familiar with that? I can explain
Why
it a
don't you
little
tell
bit.
the audience, yeah, that would help, yeah, what the
Yeah.
four quadrants
So
are.
he takes the terms what's important and what's urgent and what's not important and what's not urgent. And he puts it into blocks so that things are
Mhm.
either um, not urgent and not important. That's like scrolling through
Mhm.
social media, right? That's like,
Mhm.
this is not urgent and not important, but I'm doing it
Right.
anyway. It's like mind numbing. That's in whatever quadrant that is, and you don't want to be there. And then
Right.
there's like important and urgent, and those are the things that are on fire, right? So they're super
Mhm.
important, they're important and urgent, and they're on fire, and so you're just constantly
Mhm.
putting fires out. And so those are the two places you don't want to be. The place you want to be is working on things that are important, but that aren't
Mhm.
urgent. And a lot of times those are the things we put last, when really they should be
Right.
what we should put first. For instance, money. It's not important and it's not urgent until it is. And if you don't work on it and you don't pay attention to it, then it's going to end up going into the urgent part, right? That's the
Mhm.
same with your health or self-care, right? It's
Right.
it's important, but it's not urgent. And so you
Mhm.
have to be mindful and be intentional about both your personal health and your financial health. And if you're not, then it goes into the urgent and the part you don't
Mhm.
want to be, right? So that's the
Exactly.
idea.
Yeah, and I think I've seen that for business too, where you put, what are you spending your time on? What's getting you the most ROI?
Yeah.
That, and then you kind of do that four box. I think what you and I talked about in the green room that I think is important to bring up here is the five areas of well being, and that financial is one of those five areas. It's knowing where your money is, that you've got a handle on it. You could understand where you are at any moment of any day, just like physical, putting what you put in your body, what you're doing with your body, your social, how are your relationships, and then your purpose, what you're doing every day. And then the last one is community, what you're doing to serve. And one of those go off, it can cause your net thriving to go down. And so financial seems to be the one that people don't want to talk about.
Yeah.
And you've kind of put a fun face on it with your me money. So tell us about that.
Yeah. So me money is a way to
Excuse
put
me.
yourself as a line item on your budget, because when you work with people on their finances, the first thing you do is you talk about cash flow, and it's basically budgeting. What's going in, what's coming out, right? And so you go through this whole process of like listing all the expenses and everything. And I mean, you might put some things on there like this is what we spend going out to eat, or this is what we do going on vacation, but there's never really an item that is for you that says like
Mhm.
this is Dana's money, right? This is what
Mhm.
Dana gets to spend on Dana. And so
Mhm.
that's where me money comes in. And it you put yourself on there as a line item so that you either A, can reel yourself in if you're a spender, right? If you can reel yourself in,
Mhm.
but it's not restrictive because it gives you intention around what you're spending your money on. And then
Mhm.
if you're a saver and you're not likely to spend money on yourself, then it allows you that permission to spend money. And
Mhm.
there's five different money personalities. So saver, spender, avoider, risk taker, and security seeker. And all of them, like putting intention to this bucket of money for yourself, it helps all of those money personalities. So the story behind this, the way this all came about, is because it's because I put my husband on a budget. This is how it started. So like I'm the one who handles the finances, so I know what's going on. I'm the one who knows the cash flow, what's coming in and what's going out. And I was like, okay, I'm putting you on a budget. Like you're going to get this much money and this is what you can spend, and if you want to save up for a trip with the guys, then you got to save that money to get the trip for the guys. You can't just go buy and spend whatever you want. Like you got to live within this. So we talked about a number and we came up with a number, and he's like, "Great. So I'm getting an allowance now, you know?" And I'm like, "Yep, you're getting an allowance." He's like, "Well, what about you? Are you giving yourself an allowance?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm going to give myself the same amount as you." We live in this, regardless of who makes more money or who does what. We live in the same household. We have the same lifestyle. It's evening out the playing field. I mean, this is the way I think about it with couples, right? Even out the playing field. You both get to
Mhm.
spend the same amount of money on yourselves. What you do together is maybe a separate bucket, but just for you only.
Mhm.
So we did this, and then I asked him like a couple of months later, I'm like, "Are you okay with this? Like, how are you feeling?" He's like, "No, it's fine." And I'm like, "Well, tell me more about it." And he said, he's like, well, I don't feel like, I asked him, do you feel restricted? He said, I don't feel restricted. He said, I'm just making better choices. And I'm
Mm.
like, oh, give me an example. And he's like, well, he's like, I saw this golf shirt that I wanted. And he was like, I already have like a million golf shirts in my closet. And he's like, I really want the golf shirt, but do I really want the golf shirt? He's like, I'd rather save that money and put it towards a golf trip that I really want that I don't currently have rather than another shirt where I already have a bunch of shirts. So he's like, so I'm just making better choices. I'm like, that makes total sense. So, and then for me, what happened was I was the one who was always like, oh, I can't afford to go on a girls trip. I can't spend that for myself.
Mhm.
I can't justify that for myself. So for instance, I use an example of one of the big purchases that I bought like for the first time was this face regimen. It was like this. I went on this wine walk with some friends, a downtown area, and we were going in and out of these little shops. And there was a place that did facials, and they were giving out these little sample packets of facial stuff. So I picked up all these sample packets, and I'm using them. Like, oh my god, these are amazing! Like I love these. Like my face feels great, and like I could never afford to spend that. Well, I finally was like, I have my me money now. I'm gonna go buy it, and I
Mhm.
went and I bought the whole thing, and I never in a million years would have done that. I remember in my 20s putting some face serum on my Christmas list every year, and my mother-in-law at the time would buy that for me, and she'd always be like, "This just seems like such a weird thing to be buying you." But the real truth of it was is that I could not justify spending that money on myself,
Mm.
you know? And so for how long did I live under that premise that I couldn't justify spending money on myself for things that I really wanted? I would only allow somebody
Mhm.
else to spend that on me. And now with the me money, like I have permission to spend this. Like I'm just doing it. Like this is I don't have to answer
Mhm.
to anyone, not even myself. So it was huge. And then I started telling other people about it and we started implementing it and that's where it was just like mind blowing. Like everybody is like, wow, this is really just flipping everything around because it's just it's like it's not restrictive. It's like what do I value and is this worthy of my money? Like it just
Mm.
it just makes it like a whole different
Mhm.
story when you're deciding what to spend your money on.
So did you create the 6 areas of the me money that you were talking about, or was that already
The money
created?
personalities, no, I didn't
Yeah.
create those. Those were
Okay.
those are out there.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of different versions of them. I have my version of them. I'm not sure who created the original or what where it came from, um, but yeah, I mean, when you think about it, there's you can see the different money personalities in people all the time.
Oh, yeah. And I think for me, when I went through my journey, it was going back in my childhood. And my dad was always scarcity mindset. So I inherited that from him. So it's like, oh, we can't do this. Or he was. So then having that mindset, getting a really good financial planner, getting a good, different mindset of abundance, I think is what had helped me. But it's really like you're saying, I love your concept of just me money. Okay, this is just mine. And that's
Yeah.
where I can focus on that. So how long has it been since you developed that concept, and how is it working right now as you're teaching and speaking and doing online classes with it? Do you have any favorite stories to share?
So, okay. So the name Me Money is pretty new because I didn't have a name for it before. I was just calling it put yourself on your budget, right? I would just be like
Yeah.
put a line item for you. So I just coined the term Me Money recently, but
Oh,
it's
I
been
love it.
around for a couple years. I've been implementing this or telling people about this. So, um, and then what was the next part of your question? I'm
And then
sorry.
just what, since you've started implementing with other people outside of your
Oh,
family, what
there's
any other stories or
yeah.
things that shared as people took it into their lives, their
Yeah.
real life?
So yeah. So for instance, in my money mindset course that I had before that I'm revamping now, there was a woman who talking about like the family stories, right? So she talked about
Mhm.
how when she was younger, she was her mom would take her clothes shopping like basically once a year, right before school started, and that was the only time she would get to go shopping. Her mom, on the other hand, was always dressed to the nines and always buying new clothes and always doing new stuff. So now this woman was actually in her late 60s
Wow.
came to the money mindset course, and she's like still working on it. Like there's no, you always start where you are, it doesn't matter where you are, and everybody has a mindset. But I'm talking to her about her money story growing up, and like what her first experiences were with money were, and we're having this conversation about this, and she realizes just like, oh my gosh, I have been putting everybody before me. She's like, it's like I've lived my whole life thinking I'm not worthy of spending my money on, but I can spend it on everybody else. And it kind of clicked. And so when I said like, okay, this is your assignment. You're going to give yourself a certain amount of money that you're allowed to spend on yourself, where you don't even have to answer to yourself. If you want something and that money is there, it's already set aside for you, you buy it. But you got to remember, if you say yes to this thing now, that you might be saying no to something later. And that's where the values comes in, right? It's like, how much do I really value this? And so, yeah, it was really a good exercise for her, because then she had kind of the same thing I had, where I was like, I couldn't justify spending that money on myself. Hers was a little bit different than mine, but kind of the same idea, right?
So let's talk about that. The mindset piece is huge, but there's also some confidence that for women in managing finance, and the whole thing about I don't want to manage this. I've seen this even with women entrepreneurs, very successful women. The ones that are we did some research a couple years ago with some other female founders, and we found that the women that were just on the brink of 100, six figures, were just had as much confidence as the women on the brink of a million. And it's just a confidence thing, and it's like, how do you break through that, and how do you coach these women to break through that they can do that, they can make more money, they can design the life they want? Is it with the money, kind of the me money? Is it where have you found that works to help build that confidence with them?
I think it's both. I think it's both the numbers and the mindset, right? You have to understand them both. And if you're not working on both of them, I don't feel like you're going to get that much traction. You have to have the two things at the same time. Like one of the women in my money mindset course she said, I have this big number. That's my number that I want to hit. And she says, everybody says I'm crazy and nobody believes me. And I said, do you believe it? And she said, yeah, I believe it. I said, you 100% believe that you can make that amount of money? And she said, yes. And I said, then you can.
Yeah,
You can.
absolutely.
If you believe it, and you're willing to put in the work and do the things and manifest that and put that energy out into the world, it will happen.
And you did the work. You went out there, you did the work, you got the classes, you got the degrees, you saw success, you found what you wanted, what you didn't want. Why don't you think that people do the hard work to really get a hand on their money and to grow their mindset? What do you think is keeping them from doing that?
I think with women especially, that it's just not ever been a part of the conversation ever. They didn't grow up talking about money. It was always something maybe that was hidden, or just not appropriate to talk about. It was just not part of the culture to talk about money. Sometimes there's money trauma involved, or where parents fought about money, or maybe a spouse was abusive with money, or things like that. That's a whole nother level. But I think that the main thing is that there needs to be a safe place to talk about it, and someone who understands that you're just starting from wherever you are, and that there's no reason to be ashamed that you don't know about money. I can't tell you how many people come in to see a financial advisor and say, "Oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed by what I have, or what I don't have, or how I did this or how I did that," and they're just embarrassed about it because they feel like everything that they've done is wrong, or that they haven't done enough. It's like, that's exactly why we're here. It's like saying, like, I'm not going to go to the gym until I've lost weight and I'm in shape. I'm not going to start
Yeah, it's not
exercising
going to happen.
until I'm in shape. No, we expect you to be messy. That's why you're coming in. We want you to be messy. I mean, it's
Mhm.
great when you're not too, but I mean, That's the idea. And so giving the education is allowing people to start cleaning up on their own and feeling more
Mhm.
confident on their own. And they may eventually go off and work with a financial planner or a financial advisor, and that's totally fine, but at least they'll be educated and be able to understand and ask better questions.
So, when you think about the work you're creating and what you're putting out and the impact you're making right now with these women in your courses, what are the three things you want them to take away once they've taken one of your courses? What are the things that you say once I finish Me Money course or once I finish one of these courses? What is it that you really hope by developing all this that you've helped make an impact with women on?
Mainly, I want them to feel confident with money. I want them to
Mm-hmm.
understand money. So, confidence and empowerment, right? Empowered.
Mm-hmm.
Now they have the ability to make better decisions. Confidence, they know that they can make better decisions, right? Those are the two main things. And then I would say the third thing is just the idea that they're not alone, and all the crap that they feel about
Mm-hmm.
money, all the things that they
Mm-hmm.
feel are real, and that everybody else is
Mm-hmm.
feeling them too. They're not alone. So there's no reason
Yeah.
to hide it or feel ashamed about it. It's a part of life.
That's great. And that's encouraging. And that's like, hey, this is a safe space. Come and figure out what's going on with your mindset about money, figure out some tools you can use to help manage your money, and then figure out a way that you can do it on a daily basis. It's not going to be a one and done, right? It's going to be ongoing that you're doing. So, love the work you're doing. Love that you're really focused on women and really serving, who you once were, Linda. Is there anything as we get ready to close out that you haven't gotten to share with the audience that you want to make sure you share with them before we close down? Any resources or tools, anything that you would like to share so that they have a place to go after they hear this message?
Sure. So I do have on my website, which is lindagriz.com, LINDAGRIZ.com. Then you go to the resources page, and
Mm-hmm.
on there's a whole bunch of downloads, but there's two quizzes, and I'm mentioning them both because we talked about them both here. And one is what's blocking your financial confidence,
Mm,
and the other one is what's your money personality.
I
So
love that.
both of those are great, and they give you a little they tell you where you mostly lie, although you can be in more than one, but I'll tell you where you mostly lie, and just give you a few little quick tips on what you can do to work with your confidence and your personality. And there's no wrong answer, right? Your
Yeah.
money personality is your money personality, and there is no wrong answer. It doesn't matter who you are or what you are. There's a way for you to work with that and stop working against it.
And I love that. Stop working against it. Work with it. That's great. Great advice. Well, thank you so much, Linda. Thank you for being here today and sharing your wisdom with us. And we look forward to hearing about all the lives that you're changing through your work and through your Me Money project and all that. So thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you.
What an incredible conversation. Remember, everything you need to lead with greater impact is already within you. You don't need to be more productive. You need to be more you. If today's episode resonated, please subscribe and share it with a fellow leader who's ready for their internal revolution. And if you want to dive deeper for these concepts, grab a copy of Internal Revolution, Lead Authentically, and Build Your Personal Brand from Within. It's on Amazon. And if you're ready to discover what's possible when you lead from the inside out, I'd love to create a space for that conversation. Head to danawilliamsco.com for your resources and to book your free discovery call, where we can explore what you want to achieve for yourself, your team, and your organization. Until next time, keep leading from within.